Hello there, people of the internet. Welcome back to another station, another mile. And welcome back to the Little and the Lost series. This is a little semi-recurring series I like to do, focusing on little and or lost stations. And today's subject, where we are right now, is definitely in the former category. It's a little station with quite a big story to tell. Because today, we're at Chessington South. It's just a terminus station on the Chessington branch line from Clapham Junction and Waterloo. But it's also one of those stations where once you take a second look, some things don't quite add up. For example, it has two platforms, except this one over here looks a bit underused. And I'm facing the up direction, towards London Waterloo. So why does it keep going that way? This is a terminus station. Trains stop here and then go back. Except the tracks keep going. What? You see what I mean? All of a sudden, few little curious details start to emerge. Now, Chessington South Station was first opened in 1939, and it was originally supposed to connect to Leatherhead, and then a little thing called the Second World War got in the way. See, this actually has quite a few similarities to the Northern Heights project, which was in the end shelved in a kind of half-finished state for similar reasons. Number one, a world war happened, which I think you'll agree was fairly significant. And then after the war, a combination of certain areas around London becoming greenbelt land, so protected land, and you couldn't build stuff, especially housing on them. A lot of projects, especially railway line projects, ended up kind of stalling and never restarting. And that was the exact story of the Northern Heights. The exact same thing happened here. Hence why we have a station here that looks like it should be a through station, and even has tracks going through like a through station. And you know how I mentioned that this station has two platforms, and this one over here looks particularly overgrown and unloved, and like it's not seen a passenger train in a very long time? Well, that's because it's never seen a passenger train. Ever. Since this station opened in 1939, it's had two platforms, and only one of them has ever seen a passenger train. But it all contributes to what I said at the start, which is, this is a kind of ordinary humdrum looking station, but then if you just look a little bit deeper, some things start to make you go, wait a minute, hang on, there's more at play here. So just like Bromley North Station, this is a little terminus station with a big story to tell. So let's try and tell that story to you today. So here we are at the southern end of the platforms at Chessington South. Stood at the end of platform 1. Here are the tracks for it. They look like they've been used recently. There's the tracks and the platform for platform 2 that don't look like they've been used recently. Because they never have been. It's a ghost platform. It's never seen a passenger train in its life. I'm also curious as to how passengers would have got onto that platform to begin with. I can't see any evidence of steps coming down from the road bridges. It's literally just behind the camera, where the station building and everything is. Was there something here and then that was only half finished, or they didn't get around to finishing that and then they went, well, there's no need for that? But I like the fact that it is at least still here. How many stations do you know of have a ghost platform? And while we're on the subject of sort of the whole not quite finished nature of this station, you may be wondering, well, if it became a terminus, if the whole project to go all the way through to Leatherhead was cancelled soon after World War II, why does this still look like it still keeps going anyway? Why do the tracks keep going through there? So let's head up to street level and have a look around the station building itself, and maybe see if we can get a better look at the mystery bit of tracks that go beyond the end of the line. Okay, so we're now officially at street level. As you can see, the platforms are down there, as well as the departing train. See you later, train. We'll probably be back in about an hour or so, maybe. For now, we're up here topside, where there's a lot of interesting stuff to explore. Firstly, do you remember at the very start I mentioned Bromley North Station? Well, there is actually a direct connection between that and Chessington South. Chessington South was designed by the Southern Railway's chief architect, James Rob Scott, who amongst many, many stations in the 20s and 30s across the Southern Railway region, including stations like London Waterloo, also designed Bromley North. So there you go. There is a connection between these two stations. They were designed by the very same person. But that brings us on to those mystery tracks. You may be thinking all this time, well, if this ended up only being a terminus station, why are there still tracks going southbound? Where do they go? When work ceased at the start of the Second World War, not only had Chessington South already been built, but some of the tracks had already been laid to continue the extension onto Leatherhead. So after the war, somebody decided, well, we've got this track down there, how about we make it still lead to something? And that something ended up being a coal depot, which was in operation through the 60s through to the end of the 1980s. Once that was closed, those tracks ended up being mothballed and overgrown and seemingly finally about to rot away into nothing and maybe be lifted. But only last year, someone else decided to have the bright idea to use them for goods services. This time, for an aggregates depot. That's the fascinating thing about Chessington South. Right in the sort of rural suburbs of London, and this should be just a fairly sort of humdrum little station, but just like Bromley North, you dig under the surface and all of a sudden, a lot of secrets reveal themselves. It's a fascinating little station, this one, and I'm very glad I came out to visit it, and I hope you guys have enjoyed our little trip out here today. And with that, I'm going to finish my thermos flask of Costa hot chocolate, and I'll see you guys soon along the way.